explain the purpose, structure, content, and attendees, explain the process of and different methods for gathering evidences during an audit, describe the purpose, structure, content, and attendees. Typically at the opening meeting, what is the opening meeting, what are the constituents of opening meeting, then the roles and responsibilities of guides, how to do the sampling, what are the benefits and what are the limitations of sampling, understand how to conduct and control the audit, and then you will be also going to know about how to gather the audit evidence, how this audit evidence is being categorized, uh, and to identify the channels of communication between the auditors and auditee. So stage 2 audit. The purpose of stage 2 audit is to evaluate the implementation. What was the purpose of stage 1 audit?
Prepare for stage 2.
Sorry?
Prepare for stage 2 and study the documents.
Very good. The purpose of stage 1 audit was to get the information about the company. As an auditor, I'm discussing the purpose of stage 1 audit was to know the information or to gather the information about the company as much as possible, and to check the readiness of the company for stage 2 audit. So now we are in the stage 2 audit. In this audit, what we need to do is to go in depth. We need to see the evaluation of implementation. We need to focus on the record also. In stage 1, we have seen only the procedures, if the documents are available or not available. Here we need to see the record of these implementation. For example, in stage 1, we have seen that if the procedure for handling customer complaint is available or not available. So in stage 2, we will be asking them, please show me the customer complaints of last 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, whatever are possible. So in stage 2 audit is basically the audit which is going to give us a in-depth clear idea about the organization, how they are going to maintain the quality management system in their company. The stage 2 audit will take place at the site. In stage 1 audit, remember we discussed that sometime remote audit is also possible. But in stage 2, always we will be doing the on-site audit. Remote audit is not possible in stage 2 audit. So stage 2 audit, the areas which we are going to cover are basically our whole standard. All clauses of standards which are applicable to the scope of work. For example, if even the organization is considering design and development in their system, so we will be evaluating the design and development clause as well. Similarly, starting from PDCA, all clauses which are falling under PDCA, starting from risk management and then our planning clauses, then support clauses, then operation clauses, our risk and opportunities, internal audit management review. These all areas we are going to evaluate in our stage 2 audit. How to collect and verify the information during the stage 2 audit? The first thing we should know, this we already discussed before, but again, now we will be having good understanding about this chart. You can also see appendix number 22 in your learner guide to have a clear idea about how to collect and verify the information. The first thing is that we should know the source of information. From where I will get the information? We will get the information by document review. We will get the information by interviews, by observation, by appropriate sampling. What is sampling? We will discuss in the next slide about the sampling. So source of information, as an auditor, you should be expert in having these activities: interviews, documentation review, observation, and looking over the surrounding or the infrastructure of the company which is needed for the product. Then after getting the information, we need to verify this information. Why we are verifying this information? Because we as an auditor, we cannot raise a concern, we cannot raise a finding, we cannot raise a non-conformity until unless the things are 200% sure that really it's a matter or it's a opportunity for improvement. So we need to work on these things to verify. Sometimes you verify from the same person, sometimes you verify what the person is speaking with the document. Sometimes you verify one information from another department. So verification of the information is very necessary. So you can make sure that my conclusion is correct. You can make sure that what I have perceived from the information is correct, and then you can categorize and you can conclude your audit finding in a efficient or in a professional manner. So after having verification of information, this will become your audit evidence. Once you have a strong audit evidence, then you need to compare this audit evidence with the criteria. Remember, I told you before that you are going for a quality audit, and maybe you will find some issues which are related to the health and safety of the people, or food safety of the people, or environment of the surrounding. But since your criteria is quality management system, so you will be focusing on the quality management system. The other findings you cannot raise as a finding. Yes, you can suggest them, you can advise them, but since today you are going for a QMS audit, so your scope of work or your all activities will be surrounded with the QMS. So the information you have got, we need to see that if it is meeting the criteria for my audit or no, and then we will be evaluating our finding. We will be evaluating our finding according to the requirement of the standard. If it is shall, if it is a mandatory requirement in their procedure, if it is a mandatory requirement in the as a legal requirement, then we will make our conclusion. Otherwise, we can make this as a recommendation, opportunities for improvement, or no need for it. We can mark it as a compliant activity. So this table will always be helpful for you in the practical audit as well. Whenever you will be going for internal audit or external audit or second party audit, you can use this table. So it will be a very good reminder for you that you have to keep focus on your criteria for which you are going to perform the audit. Any question? Yes, guys. Any question from the table? Okay. What is audit evidence? Audit evidence is defined as record, statement of fact, or other information which are relevant to audit criteria and verifiable. We have already discussed this definition, but again, because now we are focusing on a stage 2 audit, so audit evidence will be considered as record, statement of fact, or other information. Other information could be from the infrastructure, other information could be from the document review, which are relevant to the audit criteria, which means our standard, which means company policies and procedures, and verifiable. Verifiable means that you can verify this. If you are not be able to verify this, this cannot be an audit evidence. If this cannot be an audit evidence, then you cannot raise it as a finding. You cannot raise it as a major or minor finding. You can, if you are unclear, leave it. Just discuss with the management that my audit criteria is not meeting. So, but I'm not be able to conclude this evidence. So you will see by yourself. So this is a good practice that at least the company can see it by themselves. Yes, Mr. Rushdie.
Physical observation consider audit evidence?
Yes, physical observation. For example, the process in which the product is manufacturing, it is having some problem with the temperature, right? The infrastructure, the machine part is broken, which may cause the problem in our product quality. For example, the gauge which is installed, it is out of order, or it is not giving the correct reading. For example, the steam is going to be leak, right? For example, any other problem, for example, the raw material is directly on the ground. Otherwise, as a required by the the product SOP, that it has to be available on the pallets or covered all the time. But this raw material is openly distributed or openly spread on the ground. So these all physical observations you can raise as a finding, even as a non-conformance. The simple rule for non-conformance is that it should be meeting the audit criteria, verifiable, and again, the risk involved due to this activity. If this activity is with the physical, if this activity is with the people, if this activity is from the document side. So if there is a potential for non-conforming due to this activity, we can raise it as a non-conformance or we can raise it as a finding. Right?
Should we take photo or no need?
No need. Most of the time you will be, if you are doing the third party audit or the first party audit or second party even, there will be one company representative or the guide will be available with you. So if you will find any such activity, you can discuss and you can show directly to that guide. It will be a better activity rather than to take the picture. In second party audit, sometimes the client, for example, if you are doing the audit for Aramco or you are doing the audit for Unilever, as a part of the report, they ask you that you have to take the pictures evidence. So in this case, you can take the picture evidence. No. But in third party audit, 90, 95, or you can say 99%, we avoid to take pictures because the findings are very clear and you can discuss directly at the same time with the audit. Yes, Mr. Arshad.
Once an accreditation body make a contract or send quotation to a organization
Accreditation
that
body does not make contract with you. Certification body.
Sorry, third party.
Certification body.
Yeah, third party. Once they send quotation, this quotation includes stage 1, stage 2, and surveillance audit, or only stepwise. Once they
No, the quotation is basically, it's a full proposal.
Full proposal,
which
okay.
contains stage 1, stage 2, surveillance 1, surveillance 2, right?
Okay.
But sometimes the client says, okay, because now I'm going for the stage 2 audit or stage 1 audit. So at this time, we will pay only for the stage 2 audit. So the surveillance 1 fees and surveillance 2 fees will be paid at the time of surveillance 1 and surveillance 2.
Roughly, sir, how much? Up to
depend on the size of the company, number of employees, number of shifts. There are many factors.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mazin.
Sir, just to correct my information, when this third-party auditor comes to the company, the guy who will accompany him during the audit, the name of this guy is QMR or lead auditor or QA. What is the correct name?
Guide, company representative or departmental representative or guide.
And he's the same guy who will be doing the internal audit, right?
You can say. See, sometimes in a small companies, right? When you talk about small companies having 5-6 department and only one person responsible for quality assurance, quality control, and quality management system. So in this case, that miskin guy will be doing everything, right? Yes. But if when you talk about big level or medium level of companies, so definitely there will be not only one auditor will come, there will be more than one auditors will be there. So one of the auditor can be with that QMR and the other auditor can be with another representative. Sometimes the guy from production, he can be the other guide. Or what happened that for each department, you ask their own representative. For example, you are sitting in the meeting room and when the time for production department comes, you will call the production supervisor or production manager, please come and take the auditor with you. Once he will finish with the production, you will inform 10 minutes before that, for example, warehouse store manager that the auditor is going to be free. Please come to the production and take this auditor with you, right? So most of these things are going to be discussed before the audit, before 1 day or 2 days, because the schedule most of the time they send before 3 days, before 1 week. So by the time you can discuss these things among your team and you can finalize. Sometimes you discuss these things in the opening meeting according to the available resources. Sometimes it has to go to the warehouse which is not at the same site. So you will ask one of the guy to take this auditor with you in your car to the warehouse and then come back after 2 hours. So there are different ways to manage these activities.
Okay, sir. If I am that miskin guy in the company who will be doing the internal audit and will be accompanying this.
Yes, yes, that guy can be doing the internal audit. No problem,
Yes.
no problem.
But what can I, the correct name for myself in the company in this position?
Miskin manager. That is the
No, no,
correct.
truly. What is better, LA or QMR or
QMR, you know, for example, if you are responsible for HSC, or you are responsible for quality, or you are responsible for all, then the term before in a standard old version, the term which was used, they call it management representative. But
Okay.
now this terminology in standards are no more available. But if the company wants, they can declare you for management representative. It is not a mandatory requirement to have manager or the engineer. They can represent, they can announce anyone as a management representative. The purpose of management representative, that he has the good information and the understanding about the management system standards, and he is the bridge between the top management and the down the line. So this was the main role of management representative. So he could be anyone, I mean, depending on the company has to announce this.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But now in new standard, as I told you, there is no requirement to mention someone as a management representative. But standard does not say that no, it is not allowed. The standard does not define, but you, for example, manual, the standard does not say that no need for manual. So the requirements which are being defined in the standard are minimum. If the company, they want to add something, it's their own choice. They are most welcome to add.
Okay, notice, sir. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So the audit information, how we are going to take the audit information. Now, again, we will go to the same workshop folder where we have the documents available for wetland company. Remember folder number which contains workshop 8, 9, 10 material. Have you got these things? Is it available with you or no?
It's available.
Open your student material and then go to the workshop resources and then go to the workshop 8, 9, 10. You will find number of files in this folder. What you need to do, this is about audit information, right? As we discussed before, that we get the audit information from the people, how they are going to perform the activity. Are they following the SOPs or not following the SOP? What is the level of their competence? The persons who are performing the task, are they up to the mark or no? Then processes, how the process are being carried out. What are the inputs and outputs? How the process is being monitored? How the process is being controlled, right? Then we have equipment, tool and material from where we will get the audit information. For example, what are the equipment properties specification? What are the tools which are being used to monitor the quality of the product or the services? What are the material which are being used for the production purpose? So what are the calibration and maintenance record of these equipment and tools? And then the documents, for example, procedures, for example, record, monitoring record, checklist, right? Maintenance, preventive maintenance record, breakdown maintenance record. So whatever these informations are required during the audit, these are basically all your evidences. These are the sources of your evidences. So what you will do in the groups now, I will again make you in 3 groups. Each group will discuss about, for example, group number 1 will discuss about what information do they need about wetland people, right? So you have to write minimum 5 questions, but this must be related to wetland company, not only the standard. Okay, you have to focus that tomorrow you are going to perform the audit and you will be meeting the people of wetland. So what do you want to see in the people of wetland company? Similarly, group number 2 will be focusing on the process. What are the process of wetland and how you are going to evaluate these processes during the audit. Similarly, group number 3 will be focusing on the equipment, tools and material, and this equipment, tool and material related to wetland, which are mentioned in the information provided. So what are the equipment, tool and material information or the questions you are going to ask the wetland company tomorrow during the audit? Is it clear now? You will be working in 3 groups. Group number 1, discuss about the people of wetland. What do you want to see as required by the QMS? Group number 2, what do you want to see in the process of wetland as required by QMS? Group number 3, equipment, tool, material. What do you want to see in equipment, tool, and material as required by quality management system requirement? You will have 10 minutes for this activity. Just write only 5 question answers, right? I'm making you in the broadcast now. Any question?
No, thank you.
Our next part is the opening meeting. Remember, when you were developing the audit plan, I gave the comments that opening meeting about the audit is one of the mandatory requirement, like closing meeting, because opening meeting is the meeting which we can say it's a ice breaking activity. You are going in a company first time and the company is looking you as a first time. Sometimes it is a stage 1 audit or a stage 2 audit. The company is not clear about the process, how you are going to perform your activities, how you are going to visit the departments, how you are going to see the information, and how you are going to conclude the information. And also about you as an auditor, who are you, what is your criteria, who is the audit team leader, who is the team member. These all information you are going to get from the opening meeting. Similarly, when you are going to provide the opening meeting, you are going to ask about the introduction about the company, introduction about the people, introduction about their processes. So most of the time the opening meeting, it is like 15 to 20 minutes in actual. So after opening meeting we start the formal audit. So most of the time opening meeting contains the top management as well, but top management availability in opening meeting is not the mandatory, but it is recommended. But in closing meeting, you have to give them the clear instructions that top management should be the part of the closing meeting. So if they are not available, then you will see the alternate, but 90% top management is available in the opening and closing meeting. And it is a very good practice. Again, it shows the leadership of the company. For example, how much their leadership or the top management is committed towards quality management system. So when you are planning for the opening meeting, you have to give the time, you have to give the schedule in advance so the company can plan their activities accordingly. Sometimes they are working in the shift, sometimes the top management, they come late in the normal routine. So when you are following the schedule, it is very necessary for you to be punctual, because you never know that maybe the top management has another meeting just after your meeting. So if you will be thinking, oh, I'm living in Riyadh and there is always traffic jam, so we are reaching late, half an hour late or 40 minutes late. We are the auditor, no problem. The client is client. They are auditee. They cannot say anything to us. So it will not be a professional activity. They can mind it, because it is you have already communicated the time and they have scheduled their time. So you have to regard your communication. You have to make sure that punctuation is your punctuality is always you are going to follow. So the purpose of opening meeting should be quite clear, that we are going to discuss the scope, we are going to discuss the address confirmation, scope confirmation, and we need to encourage our auditees that we need your cooperation to make this audit successful. We are here to seek the conformity. We are here we are your improvement partner. We would like to evaluate your system. Our activity is not a policing activity. We are not going to make any problem for you. Rather, we are here to solve your issues by means of our audit findings. So this is something which you have to give us the idea. And similarly, you need to check what are the arrangement they have made. For example, it might be possible that they have another site where you have to go. So you need to discuss that you have the arrangement available. So we will go at this time. Who will be the guide with me or representative with me? It might be possible there are more than one auditor. So you will make introduction of each auditor, and you will be making again discussing the schedule with them, and you need to say that we are flexible in the schedule. If you want to make any changes, we are flexible, but we need to cover all the departments. So the main purpose of opening meeting is to have a break, an activity of ice breaking. Then the auditee and the auditor are on the same page to start their auditing activities. Any question in the opening meeting? What is the meaning of positive finding, and should we put? Yes, you can put the positive finding. For example, the good practices. For example, you are going in a company and you will find them they are maintaining the good level of housekeeping. So you can write in the report that the company is maintaining good level of housekeeping. Or when you go through their training program, you will find that the company has a good training program. The execution is being carried out on time. Company has the record available for the execution. They are monitoring the effectiveness. So you can write this thing in the report that they are doing these activities.
I thought we should put only negative points.
No, negative points are a part of non-conformities or the observation. I mean, you can also mention the positive point, no problem for it.
Okay.
For the opening meeting, you can also see appendix number 23 in your learner guidance. So you can have much clear idea about what are the agenda points we need to cover in the opening meeting. One very important agenda point in the opening meeting that you need to consider is the confidentiality. We need to make this statement very clear that whatever record, whatever information we are going to see here, it will remain confidential between the auditor and the auditee. So you are not going to share this to anyone other than this company. So this will give a very good impact on the auditee's mind, on the company side, that they think that now they are in a safer hand. The information which they are going to provide, it is not going to be leaked. They will be more open with you, right? But if they have this fear that this auditor will go tomorrow to our competitor and he can share our information with the competitors, so it might be possible that they are not going to share many information with you, and you cannot carry out your audit in a much easier and in a much efficient way. So definitely, if you don't have the information available which you need, so you cannot conclude your audit in an effective manner. Sometimes I used to go to the military audits. Sometimes we used to go some special purpose companies for their audits. So it is very necessary as an auditor that you need to maintain the confidentiality of their systems. So because especially when you are going to perform the audits of military or forces, they don't like that every time should be the new auditor, because they have gone through with all the interrogation and the investigation before you go to their site, and then once they approve you, so next time they want that there should be those people, the auditors who should come, that have already passed our screening procedure. So as an auditor, it is very necessary for you. The question is, separate checklist should be prepared for opening meeting. Most of the time the checklist is not necessary, but you can keep in front of you, and when you are discussing all the agenda point of opening meeting, this can be in front of you, no problem, but it is not a separate document which has to be available or mandatory requirement. Similarly, there is a agenda for the closing meeting also, so you can keep this while you will be doing the closing meeting. The auditor approach: when you are going to start the audit, what you are going to do is first meet the area or the departmental representative. Most of the time it is head of the department or the manager, so who are going to welcome you, who are going to meet with you. So you have to be very open, you have to be very easy, and keep a smile on your face, so they don't think that you are here for some policing activity or some for negative sort of activity. You need to give them the confidence that you are here to know about their processes, to discuss the requirements of a standard with them, so they will be more comfortable. Sometimes I have seen that the auditees they have too much fear, and they are under the pressure from the top management or the departmental heads, that if we will get any non-conformity or we will get any serious finding, then we can take out of you from the company, or we will not allow you to have the bonus or the increment. So these kind of the practices are common in the companies. So when you are going pass through with these kind of situation, you have to give them the confidence that you are here for the audit of the company, not for the audit of individual. So whatever you are going to see, it is for the company rather than for the individual. So the first thing, you have to go and you have to meet the departmental representative who is there to welcome you. Always talk to those people performing the task. Very necessary. What does it mean? Always talk to the people who are performing the task. Sometimes what happened that you are asking the question to the operator and the answer is being provided by the departmental supervisor or the engineer. So one time, two time, you can, it's okay, you can bear them. But the third time you can ask them, excuse me, sir, I'm asking the question from him. So I'm expecting the answer from him. I need to check his competence. I know you know this answer. You are mashallah capable. When I'm going to take your interview, then you can give the answer. But at the moment I'm asking him. So it's better that he should reply. But sometimes there is a language barrier. So in this case, you can ask them to make the translation and they can provide you the answers. So those people who are working, who are performing the task, for example, operators, for example, supervisors, for example, area supervisor or the area leaders, team leaders, you can ask the questions from them about how they are performing the task, what are the SOPs which they are going to follow, what is the competency level for them, how they are going to measure and monitoring the activities, how they are preparing the reports. You can take out any of the report from in front of them and ask them to explain this report. How do they monitor the activities? Similarly, explain the purpose of the audit. As I told you, you need to mention them. It is not a policing activity. You are here to do the audit against the requirement of ISO 9001. You will go through the different activities during the audit and try to contribute some positive contribution within the company. Be calm, polite, and reassuring. Be calm. Don't get aggressive. You need to be polite. Sometimes it happens that you have angerness on something else and you are going to release this angerness for some other people. So if you are having some problem from your home, or if you are having some problem while you are coming to the factory, to the client side, for example, traffic jam, right? Crowded traffic, or you are late. So all your aggression you will be taking out on the auditees, which is not a professional way to do this activity. You have to keep calm. You have to polite. Don't speak too much and don't remain silent all the time. Wherever it is needed, you need to discuss the thing. Reassuring. Reassuring is very necessary. Why reassuring is necessary? Because to make sure that the information or the meaning of the statement which auditee has given you, you and the auditee are on the same page. Most of the time we do the reassuring when we find any of the weak points. For example, as per SOP, it is required that the calibration of the gauge which is on the machine, it will be carried out on 6-month basis. But when you discuss with the supervisor, he says, no, before this SOP is old, before we used to do it on 6-month basis, now we are doing it on annual basis. So now this is the point where you are going to be attentive. Then you need to reassure. You need to ask them, can you please, again, I didn't get your point. You are saying that now we are doing this on annual basis, and before, as required by SOP, you were doing it on 6-monthly basis. So then he will say, yes, I'm saying the same thing. So then you need to ask them, okay, if there is any documentation announcement available that the company has changed the calibration frequency. So this is how you are going to do the reassurance activity. Especially those points which are, as I told you, which are weak point, which are potential for the non-conformity or the observations, you need to be reassured that your understanding and the auditee understanding are same. Never talk down the people. Very important point. Sometimes we think that we are a cowboy, we are auditors, so we are always on the higher side or the upper side, and the auditee, that this is miskin. Whatever we will say, he will be following our instructions. So don't think that your auditee is dumb, he doesn't know anything, or he cannot do anything with you. Your auditee is also very intelligent. Your auditee is also very experienced. Sometimes we used to go in the companies, and when we see the we meet their managers, we meet their supervisors, engineers. They are very experienced, they are very efficient in their processes. So if you have the information about their processes, you will find their level of intelligence, you will find their level of their expertise. But every person is not a good auditor. Every person has expertise in their own area of expertise. It is not necessary that an experienced manager will also be a good auditor or will also be a good auditee. So you have to consider this fact, and don't try to show them that they are helpless or they have less information or they are not be able to understand what you are saying. It is your responsibility to convey your message clearly, precisely, and easily, so they can understand your question and they can reply you back. So speak clearly and carefully, very important. Sometimes we start during the audit, we start discussing political things, we start discussing religious things, we start discussing some social norms, and the people are very sensitive to the religious, political, and social norm. So we need to avoid such kind of discussion which can lead to have some misunderstandings. It might be possible that you are going to have something bad, or you start some weakness about another client. So these kind of things you need to avoid. It is your responsibility that either you should not go in this direction, and even if the auditee is going in this direction, you need to ask them that we need to focus on our scope of work rather than to involve in such kind of discussion. So is it clear?
Yes, very clear.
Shall we take the break for 5 minutes?
That will be better.
Okay.
10 minutes will be better.
10:35 we will start. 10:35.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So now we will be focusing on conducting the audit. In our previous slide, we discussed about auditor's approach. Is it quite clear now that how we are going to start our audit? Before starting our audit, what should be in our mind, how we are going to perform, and once we are going to start our audit, what we need to do. The main purpose of audit, again, to get evidences, audit evidence, audit evidence, audit evidence as much as possible. Once you have the audit evidence, then you can materialize this audit evidence in your in your conclusion. You can materialize this audit evidence or this information as non-conformity or opportunity for improvement or a positive finding. But if you don't have this, the information or the audit evidence or the audit trail available, you cannot do anything. So this is very important, that the main focus is on getting the audit evidences, so our activities will be aligned and we can conclude the audit in an efficient way. Then ask open-ended question. What are the open-ended questions? For example, open-ended questions, those questions which are going to provide you the information. For example, 5 W's and 1 H, or in simple words, 4 wives and 1 husband. So these 4 W's or 5 W's are those: what, where, when, who, why, and how. Because if you are going to ask them close-ended question, so he will give you the answer yes or no. For example, if you ask him, any worker, that have you got the training to operate this machine, he will say yes. But if you ask them how this machine is going to be operated, or when did you get the training for operating of this machine, then he is going to give you more information. When you ask any worker that, okay, once you come in the company, then how do you start this machine or how do you start your work? So he is going to give you the full story, that when we come in the company, we make our basma, then we go to our changing room, we change our clothes, and then we come into our location of machine, we do the toolbox talks, we clean our machine, then we do some reel change or the material change, and then we start our activities. So from this information, you will get many information to ask further questions. But once you start asking the close-ended questions, that For example, when you come to the company, do you change your clothes? He will say, yes, we change our clothes. When you come to the company or before starting, do you make the toolbox stocks? He will say, yes, we make the toolbox stocks. Or if you ask that once you start your company, do you make any cleaning of the machine? He will say, yes, we do the cleaning of the machine. So these kind of close-ended questions are not going to give you any information. So to get more and more information, we need to ask open-ended question. So we will get many of the information, and from this information you will be asking the second question. So basically this kind of thing is called trail. Remember, I told you that we are going to connect all the one bead from with another bead, one bead from another, one bead from another in such a way that we can conclude our question, we can conclude our result when we are leaving the department or when we conclude our audit at the end of day. Refer to the checklist. Checklist is, you have already made the checklist, which is a very good informative tool for you to perform the audit or to stay or to stick to your scope. We are going to use the checklist. So while you are doing the audit, you can also see your checklist. Maybe you have noted some important points. So it is the right time to ask these questions. Maybe you have finished your audit, and before leaving this place or leaving this department, just go through with your checklist. Maybe you have missed some important point. So then you can ask this important information before leaving the department, because once you leave the department, then it will be very difficult to come back or get the right answer without any further delays of time. And the most important is the take notes. Don't trust on your memory. Nowadays we are having very weak our memories. We are not like old people like Imam Bukhari. He remember thousands of hadith. We are all human. Even we don't remember mobile number of our family members. So we need to take notes. We need to take notes. When you are a young auditor or you are going to join any certification body, so initially what our managers, they used to say that during the audit, when you are going as a trainee auditor, we are not going to expect any finding from you. We don't need any finding from you, but we are expecting that you should bring notes as much as possible. So sometimes 3 pages, sometimes 2 pages, sometimes 5 pages notes. That these notes are basically the audit trail. These notes are going to tell you that how in-depth audit has been performed. These notes are going to be written on the audit report. So the auditee or the top management of the auditee should know that you have done a wonderful job. You have gone through many of the information, and then you conclude some of your findings. So, but if you don't have the information available, if you don't have the notes available, what are you going to write on the report? In the report, it is not the requirement that you will write only the non-conformities or the finding. In the report, the main thing is that how the company is operating, how the company is following the QMS. So these will come from the notes. I remember I went to Ghana, Africa, for cement company audit. There was a German company, Ghasem. So with me there was a local auditor. I was the lead auditor, and we were performing the audit for QMS, EMS, and OSHA's IMS standards. So we were having stage 1 audit, and then from the next week stage 2 audit. So we finished our stage 1 audit, and I asked my team member, Mr. Okai, how many findings you have? So he told me that I have 2 findings, 2 observations only. So I told okay, and I have seen. I asked him how many. Please share your trail with me, and so I can put in the report. So he shared his trail, which was very long, and I was just thinking that he has noted too many things, but out of these things he did not find much findings. And I have evaluated, or my trail was very short, but I had too many findings. So when we started the stage 2 audit, I told him clearly, now Mr. Okai, we will have this audit for next 5 days. In the next 5 days, I'm not expecting any finding from you, but I'm expecting a detailed trail from you, so we can write in the report. So after 5 days, when he gave me his audit trail, it was like 13-14 pages. And in 5 days, my trail was like 3 or 4 pages only. So we developed the longest report of our company. It was like total 18 or 19 pages. So this information, that if you are going to evaluate the documents, if we are going to talk to the people, if we are going to see the processes, then you can write these things. So your notes are very necessary. Your notes are going to give the idea that how much in depth the audit has been performed. Your notes are going to give the idea to the company that they feel the confidence, yes, we have done something good. That's why auditor has seen too many things. So out of 100 things, if they have 2 gray areas, if they have 4 weak areas, if they have 5 findings, then no problem. But sometimes what happened that if you are a cowboy auditor, you will have very small trail and you will give too many findings. When any customer of the auditee or the legal body or the top management, they are going to review the report, the picture which they are going to see that our team is not doing anything. That's why they have very small audit trail and they have a lot of findings, which is unjustified with the auditee. So if you are a good auditor, if you are a senior auditor, then your reports, then your findings will be reflecting these things. But if you are a cowboy auditor, your focus is negative, your mindset is negative, you are there just to give them the findings. So your findings will be more and your audit trail will be very less, which is not a practical approach, because you are going to the company maybe sometime after 1 year, maybe they have asked you to do the audit after 2-3 months of the stage 1 audit. So you should have seen too many things. You have spent 2 days, 3 days in the company, and if your audit trail is very less, which means that you have wasted much of the time. So your audit trail is very important. So take notes are very important. Ask, look, listen. Ask, look, listen means that the more you are going to ask and the more you are going to look, you will get the notes, you will get the finding, and listen more. There is no speak. So as an auditor, you have to speak less. You have to speak only the relevant information which you want to get. Any question? No. See, this is a question, this is a misunderstanding or this is a misconcept. Mr. Adil has written the question that I have witnessed that the auditor used to fill the audit report directly without taking many notes. Is it a right practice? Actually, when auditor is writing directly in the report, when I'm doing the audit in a meeting room or in a conference room, and I'm noting the information, I used to write directly in the audit report rather than to write with my pen on my folder and then I will write in the laptop. So what I used to do, or what most of the auditors they used to do, that if they are on site, or for example they are in the production or in the workshop or in the project site, then they used to write on the folder and then they type in the laptop. But when they are sitting in a conference room or a meeting room, they have the access to their laptop, so they prefer to write directly on the report. As I told you, to write directly in the report, it doesn't mean that he is writing the non-conformities or the finding. He is basically filling his report, which is we already discussed much detail that he's taking the notes, so he can justify that I have done the audit, I have asked the question, I have seen the document, I have seen the practices. This is what he is going to write. So don't get fear. We also listen these kind of comments when we are writing directly to the report. The auditee says, oh sir, you are writing too many pages, which means that we are going to have too many findings. So this is not the case. We are basically, as an auditor, you are going to write the audit trail, you are going to write the notes. You can write it directly on the report, you can write directly on a simple Word file and then copy paste. Sometime I open my email Compose and then I write all my findings in or findings or the trail there, and I alatul at the end of audit I send it to my lead auditor if he's available with me, so he can just copy paste from there. Yes, Mr. Ali Kishawi, any question?
Yes, no question. Just what about the sampling?
Sorry?
What about the sampling?
Sampling we are going to discuss now.
Okay.
Questioning techniques, we already discussed that we need to ask open-ended question, right? These are all open-ended questions: how, what, where, when, why. Apart from these things, you can also start, and similarly, when you will be developing the checklist, you will also be starting your checklist points with how, what, where, when, who, why, is, are. So these kind of questions are going to give you the more information rather than close-ended question. And then when you ask them at the end, you should ask them, okay, show me or give me the record, show me the evidence, so your audit question can be fulfilled completely. Most of the time when you will see section number 3 of examination, it comes that you have to write the question and you have to write the clause number and what evidence do you want to see with this question. Remember when I was discussing with you five questions, I was asking the same question with Mr. Ali Kishabi. In 2-3 questions, I asked the same question, that okay, you have written the question, which is very good, but as an auditor, what document do you expect as a result of this question? So in the examination, we need to write the evidences. For example, you have written that we will see the customer feedback, or we will see the performance of the company. So what evidence you are going to see? You will see the customer feedback, you will see the complaint, or when you write that we will evaluate the internal audit of the company. So the evidence you are going to see: internal audit reports, corrective action reports, right? Schedule and internal audit. These are all evidences which you are going to see. So these are our questioning techniques. And then we have control of the audit. Control of audit: as an auditor, you are the champion, you are the team leader, you are the chairman of the audit. Auditee is not the chairman, you are the chairman of the audit. You have to be control everything. So control of the audit includes, there are some do's and there are some don'ts. So do not be sidetracked. The auditees, most of the time, they want you to be sidetracked. For example, they will involve you in some irrelevant topic, in some irrelevant discussion. They will involve you in some, as I told you, sometime in the politics, sometime on current affairs, sometime on any religious matter. Sometime they will ask you some questions which are not relevant to this standard. For example, they know that you are also a auditor of health and safety. So he intentionally start asking you some questions of health and safety. Sir, I need this information about health and safety. So as a courtesy, you are going to give them the idea, you are going to give them this information, but do not waste much time in this. You have to focus on your activity. So do not be sidetracked. These are all time delaying tactics. Sometimes, as I told you, they will ask you to go to the lunch which is outside the company, and they will take you to the end of the city to waste your 1 hour, to waste your 1.5 hours. And in this regard, then you will have pressure that I have to finish my audit on time. When you will come back, you are under pressure. If you have 1 hour for each department, so now you will be doing this audit in half an hour. Similarly, do not be led or misled. Very important. The auditee should not guide you, right? The auditee should not guide you how to do the audit. Sometimes it happens that the auditees or the client, they have 2-3 stores, and the auditee will ask you, okay, sir, please go to the store number 1, which means that this store number 1 is ready to welcome you. So you should choose some other store. Say, okay, let's go to the store number 3. Most of the time, the auditees, they are fair, but sometimes the auditees are also playing with you. So they want you to show you all the things, all the sites which are very good. So it should be your choice to select the sample, rather than the auditee will select the sample, or they are going to guide you that we should go this place or that place. Yes, if it is necessary, you can ask them, but the decision should be there, not your. Sometime the auditee, they are going to waste your time in such of the activities which are irrelevant to the audits. So this also come under the led and misled activity. Don't get bogged down, which means stuck in an issue. For example, you have asked one of the departmental in charge to bring this report, and he brought this report. He has some weakness or some discrepancies in this report, and he start explaining you, he is giving you many of the arguments on this report. He wants that you should accept this report without any problem or without any finding, but you know that there are weaknesses available and you cannot accept this for the compliance purpose. So don't go in such depth or in such irrelevant argument which does not make any conclusion. So if you are sure about anything, you need to ask them, okay, what you are saying, it's okay, but I would like to see this information. Ask him, I would like to see this information, which is a requirement of standard or the SOP. Maybe he is going to tell you many things and he is doing very good activities, but again, you are focusing on ISO, you are focusing on 9000 standard, you are focusing on their SOPs. So you need to ask them clear question that I would like to see this activity or this requirement, how you are going to fulfill this requirement. So don't get bogged down in the issues. Let the auditee dictate the pace of the audit. Very necessary. Sometimes what happened that auditee is going to decide that since you are going first time in the company, or sometime you think that, oh, this company is very big. For example, you are going to perform the audit for Aramco. So you are going to perform the audit for any other multinational company. So you are already under pressure, right? You are already under pressure. Oh, this is the company where I have applied 4 times for the job. And now I am the lucky one to get the opportunity to perform the audit for this company. So you are already under pressure. You will not find any of the positive or the negative things in this company. You will not be able to see the weaknesses. So the auditee, let the auditee dictate. Now you are under the control of auditee rather than the auditee is in your control or the audit is under your control. So it is very necessary that you should decide the pace of the audit. You should decide that how much in depth I have to go. You have to decide that how much time I have to spend in one department. You have to decide that how much should be the size of my sampling. You have to decide that which of the activity is important for me or which of the activity is unimportant for me. Sometimes it happens that when we are running out of the time, we have given 1 hour for HR department, we have given 1 hour for store department. So, but as far as the risk is concerned, HR department is not much risky as compared to the operations department, or the store department is not much risky as compared to the operations department. So we on the spot we decide that okay, we will give less time to the HR department and we will spend more time for the operation because we have to conclude our audit. So this pace of the audit, as an auditor, you are going to decide. Then make assumptions or pre-assumptions. It is very important point. As an auditor, do not make assumptions. Do not get inspired with the level of the company, or do not make any negative assumptions. Sometimes it happens that the company where you are going to perform audit, there is your cousin or your brother or your friend, and you know about the background of the company that this company is not good. They are not paying the salaries on time. They have this issue, this issue, this issue. So you are already negative about this company. When you will be negative before going to the company, then everything which you are going to see is the negative. Your attitude will become the negative. Whatever information you are going to take, you will try to find out weakness in these documents or in their activities. So it is very necessary that do not make assumptions or pre-assumptions for any of the client, whether he is a very good client or is a very good company, or he is they are not a very good company, they are a small company. So sometimes it happens that as an auditor, when you are doing audits for 2-3 big companies and the next day you are going in a small company, so you will start comparing that small company with those multinational or big companies which you have gone through in last 2-3 days. So don't do like this. Whenever you are going to perform the audit, make your mind empty, make your mind blank. You are there to evaluate the requirement of standards. If it is a good company or if it is a bad company, if it is a big company or a small company. For you, the main thing is that you should focus on the standard. You are here to perform the audit. So how they are going to implement the requirements of 9001 standard, this is your job to evaluate. So any question? Bog down means that to stuck in any of the issue. For example, they are going to involve you in such kind of activity or in such kind of discussion which does not give any value addition to the audit, or you are not be able to conclude the activity. So in this case, you are wasting your time. So don't involve in such activities which does not allow you to conclude your audit or to conclude your finding or the audit evidence in an efficient manner. Any question? Now, before we discuss about do not, now we have do's. What we need to do? We need to be prepared, right? We need to be prepared before going to the audit. How can you prepare yourself? By means of what? What is your preparation includes?
The checklist
Very good. Checklist.
and study of the system
Very good.
in stage one.
Checklist, your notes, turtle diagram, right? Any information which can help in the auditing. We should prepare it before the audit. Be punctual. I already give you the reason why you need to be punctual, because the top management is going to wait for you. The managers, they have made the commitment that okay, they will be participated in the opening meeting. They have stopped their work and they have come out for attending the opening meeting. So you have to be punctual. You have to follow the timelines. Try to always reach minimum 15 minutes before the opening meeting or 20 minutes before the opening meeting, so you can set up your laptop, you can see the place, the conference room, you can meet them, you can, if you want to get fresh up, you want to go washroom, you can go, and then you can start the audit in a much better way. Because if you will be late, then everything will be, you know, very inconsistent. Everything is very fast. Everything is very fast. Insist on person, question answer for themselves. I already discussed this thing, that do not allow the supervisors or the manager of the department to give them the answer once you are asking the questions with any of the operator or the worker. Let them talk once you are going to ask them. So once you are going to ask the staff should answer. As little talking as necessary, right? You can see this picture. He has large ears and very short mouth. What does it mean? That you have to listen more and you have to speak less, because if you will be speaking too much like me during the audit, then you will not be able to focus. The problem happens with the trainers, if they are auditors and the trainers, that whenever they find any of the weakness, they start teaching the auditee, and sometimes when they are going to teach the auditee, it takes time. So this is not a, you know, it's not a good practice that you spend too much time in explaining them. You are not there for the training purpose. You are there for the auditing purpose. But I personally feel that if you are going to give them a brief idea about their misunderstandings or about the weaknesses, that what is the requirement of a standard, so they will be able to improve. And sometimes the clients, they like those kind of auditors who are going to give them this kind of value addition, rather than to be very robotic auditor, that okay, you will go, you will do the audit, you will ask a question and khalas, you will be. Sometimes the clients, they are asking, the top management, they are asking after the closing meeting, okay, now Mr. Ernest, the audit has been finished, so apart from these findings, please give us more ideas. You have more exposure, you are going in different companies, you are meeting new people, you are watching new systems all the time, so give us some value addition so we can improve ourselves. So this is off the record. You are not going to write these things in the report, so you are going to give them the ideas. So similarly, for example, you have seen any health and safety issues, you have seen any environmental issues, so you are not going to discuss these things in the closing meeting, or you are not going to write these things in the report, but you are going to write these things, you are going to discuss these things after the closing meeting, so they can focus on them. Sometime when you are not be able to conclude any of your finding, you can ask them clearly that this is, I'm not be able to conclude this finding, but this is an open opportunity for you guys, that you should see on this matter you should evaluate this, and if there is an improvement required, you can improve yourself, because it might be possible that this can become a potential non-conformance for the next time, or this can become a potential problem for you in your process. So since you as an auditor, you will not be able to conclude this due to the less time, or due to your limited skills or capability. So off the record, you will tell them, okay, this is the area of concern. You can see whenever you are going to review your system. Avoid misunderstanding. All the times you have to be very clear. Misunderstandings means that he is going to give one answer and you are understanding another meaning. So that's why we discussed before, while conducting the audit, you have to be reassured, right? Reassure. If so, there should be no misunderstandings. Sometimes you have something in your mind and auditee has another thing in his mind. So you, and as an auditor and the auditee, should align all the time. Keep question clear and concise. Don't ask those questions which are not going to give you a concrete answer. Don't ask those questions which are not helpful in doing the audit trail. So your question should be clear. You as an auditor, sometimes as it seems that auditors, they think that they are superior. Sometimes the auditor thinks that if I will be using difficult words, my vocabulary will be very strong, then I can have good impression on my auditees. But this is not the case. You have to use their language. For example, what the language which is easy to understand for them. For example, if you are talking with a worker and worker does not understand English, then try to discuss in his language. Your job is not to take their English examination or not to take their Arabic examination, but your job is to get the examination, that what information do they have, right? This is your goal. So use the local language. In some of the audits, those audits which are like social responsibility audits, it is a requirement from the accreditation bodies that you should not wear coats and pants. You should wear normal jeans and t-shirt, and then you should go and perform the audit, because in social responsibility audits, you are going to spend more time with the workers interviews. So when they are going to see that a person in coats and pants, so they think that you are superior and they feel shy to give you the information. So once they will find that, okay, this guy is also like us, he is very friendly, he is not having any ego problem, so they are going to discuss their issues more freely with you. So similarly, during the audit, when you are talking with the top management, the level of your questions should be different. When you are going to talk with the supervisor, your level of discussion or your level of questions should be different. And when you are talking with the workers, your level, you should go on their level so they can understand. They will not come to your level. Always remember, as an auditor, you need the information. They don't need the information. You need the information. So you have to go on their level so they can be comfortable with you and they can provide you the relevant information. Be polite and calm. No need for shouting. No need for aggression. You are not the policeman. You are not the teacher for them. You are not something very higher than them. So you have to be polite and calm. Ask the information. If they are going to provide, it's okay. If they are not going to provide, tell them, okay, this is the information I needed, but you are not be able to provide this information. Thank the auditee. We as a professional, we should be thankful all the time. Especially as an auditor, you should be thankful all the time, because the auditee has prepared themselves. The auditee has spent much time with you. The auditee has provided much information to you. The auditee has provided you access to their areas. The auditee has provided you the access to their record. They have given you confidential information. They have provided you whatever you want to make the audit successful or to make the audit easier. So maybe they are compliant with the requirement of ISO 9001 up to 100%. Maybe they are complying with the requirement of 9001 up to 80%. So in any of the case, you need to thank them, because at least they are complying with the 80% of the requirement. Okay, they have some findings, no problem, they can improve. If they have no findings all the time, then why do they need the 9001 system? So it is always, there is a possibility, even if someone will do my audit, he will find many findings. So no one is ideal, right? No one is living in an ideal age. So everyone is human, they can make the mistake, there is always chance for improvement, and this is the purpose of 9001, that all the time there will be some improvement in the system. So thank the auditee for their time, for their hospitality. Sometimes they are going to have tea with you, sometimes they are going to have some other parties. So depending on their level of hospitality, they try, the auditee always try to facilitate you with all possible resources whatever they have. So you must thank you to the auditee while leaving their department. If he is a manager or if he is a worker or supervisor, you must thank them for the information and the facilitation they have provided you during the audit. As well as in the closing meeting, again you have to thank them, the management, to make this audit as a successful audit for you. Any question? Okay, now control the audit. Be aware of the aggressive auditees. Sometimes the auditees are very aggressive. It is a common practice that sometime when you are going in one department or you are talking with one manager, the other manager starts shouting on their subordinators to give you the idea that don't mess with me, don't give me too much finding, otherwise I will start shouting on you as well. So have you seen this kind of managers that just to show you they are going to start shouting, or they think that they are experienced, they have lot of information, they have lot of experience, so why you are asking them the questions? So they become aggressive once you are going to ask them any information, or you are going to ask the information which they are not be able to reply, so they get aggressive. So we need to be aware of aggressive auditees. We need to know how to handle these kind of auditees, right? Be aware of timid auditees. Timid means shy. In simple words, timid means shy. I have seen sometimes the auditees, not the managers but their subordinators, they start shivering, they are starting having sweating when the auditor goes to their department. When the auditor is asking the question, they are not be able to give the answer properly. So these kind of auditees, you have to give them the confidence, you have to give them the idea that we are here for the improvement of the company, we are here for the audit of the company, not for you. So don't feel anything, we will be improving your system, we will be evaluating your system according to the requirement of the standard, and whatever will be the conclusion, we will discuss with you, and then we will discuss with the management. So these kind of timid auditees you will find in the companies. These are not, sometimes they are going to make you blackmail, sometimes they are going to say that, sir, we have some issues, so we will not be able to focus. Like sometimes emotional blackmail, sometimes you guys are going to do emotional blackmailing with me. When you don't do the homework, you start making emotional blackmail. Sir, we were very busy, nowadays we have Ramadan, nowadays we have weekend, we are working, other than weekend we are working. So these kind of emotional blackmail, as an auditor, these should not affect on you, right? So then missing people, right? Missing people, very important. You have asked some question, you need some information from the operator or some supervisor. When you ask, okay, can you please bring this supervisor to me, you will find them, he is not available. Okay, he has gone to the canteen, he has gone to early leave, he has some emergency. Or when you are going to ask the some information or some document, the manager is absent today, and all the important document of ISO, these are in his system or these are in his cabinet, and he is not available. So the company is not going to show you, or the department cannot show you the documents. So missing people, missing documents are very common during the audit. Sometimes they don't find the documents and they are preparing the documents in another room. So they will say, okay, this is not available, but I will try to find this document and I will bring to you. So in the meantime, in next 30 minutes, 40 minutes, They are going to prepare the new reports for you. They are going to prepare the fake records, and then they will show you. So when you are having these kind of activities, if you become senior auditor, you will know, right? But if you will be very polite auditor, and you will be having very much assumptions and pre-assumption that the company is very good, then you will be accepting everything. But during the audit, if they are providing the evidences, the documents which you have asked them during the audit time, then it's okay. If you think that it's a fake document, it is your responsibility to make them this to by some alternate means. You have to prove that this is a fake record. For example, if they are going to show you the report, which you sometimes when you ask them, you will smell the smell of photocopy, you will feel the smell of printout. So I used to tell them, okay, mashallah, this record is very fresh record. So they start laughing. They say, how do you know? So these kind of things are possible, right? But as an auditor, when inshallah you will be having some experience, then you will come to know that how we are going to evaluate those fake records. You need to make again trail. If he is bringing this record, then for example he bring one report which you think that it's fake. So what you need to do, you will say, okay, this report is okay. Now what about the breakdown report of the same date of the same shift? Then you will ask, okay, where is the attendance record for this operator who has prepared this report? Then you can ask this operator to come and give interview. So there is a lot of information. You can apply your trail system, you can apply your sampling system. So then you can prove that this record is fake. Otherwise you cannot speak in front of them directly that I know that this record is fake and you have prepared. You have to prove it, right, by your actions. Pre-prepared samples, we discussed in the last slide as well. Sometimes the auditee, they prepare some samples for you. They ask you to go in warehouse number 2. They ask you to see this batch report. So they will put one batch in front of you from their own choice, but it should be your choice, because the batch report, all the documents which they have mentioned for one client or one batch, it is all completed, it is all already very good, so there will be no finding. So if you are going to ask them, okay, I need the document for this batch, or I need the document for this customer or the client, then it might be possible that there are some of the requirements which are missing. So pre-prepared samples are not acceptable. Always choose the sample from your own. Special cases, we need to be very, we need to have some margin for special cases. For example, you are performing the QMS audit and there is an accident in the company which caused the fatality or the serious incident. And then you will say, no, I'm here for this one day. I have to finish my audit, forget about everything and focus on QMS audit. So these kind of things are not the professional, right? We have to be professional in these kind of cases. So special cases are always possible. These special cases could be positive. These kind of special cases could be negative. I remember one time I was at oil and gas site, and after the audit, when I was there for I think 3 days, I did my all possible capabilities to perform this audit. And at the end of audit, I had too many findings. And when I discussed these findings in the closing meeting, the plant head, he took out of the chair, and then he told Anas, we don't agree with any of your findings. We don't need any finding. My managers are here. You have to discuss my finding to my managers and close these findings. Then we can only allow you to leave the site. And that site it was a remote site. So every week, only 2 times, the chartered plane, they used to go on these kind of sites, and it was Monday and Thursday. So I came there on Monday and I have to go back on Thursday, and my flight time was already there. So now I was under stress. I was under pressure, too much pressure. So these kind of special cases are possible. Sometimes in during the audit, when in one of my colleague told me that in Pakistan, in one of the company, they were performing the audit, and before the closing meeting, he told the quality management representative that you have major finding, so you are going to fail. He told his boss, the CEO of the company. When the CEO came in the closing meeting, he took out his pistol, he kept on the table, and okay guys, let's start the closing meeting. So in this case, you can't do anything, right?
ज्यादा हो गया सर.
No, भाई ये फैसलाबाद में होता है. So these kind of things are common. I mean, not very common. That's why these are the examples of special cases. That you
Only
have
Sir, but these are negative. What are the positives?
Only for lucky man.
positive, as I told you, sometimes they are asking. Yes, I remember one thing. Positive, very positive thing. I give you the example of Engro. I'm taking their name. Engro is the fertilizer company in Pakistan. Very big company, and very professional people. I went to perform the audit of Engro. I used to go almost every year there when I was working in the certification model. So at their Karachi side, Bin Qasim plant, Anglo Polymer, I went there. It was a chemical company. I had chemical background. I did their audit with my team. I was the lead auditor there. And in the closing meeting, we had too many findings. When we started our findings, their managers, they started getting aggressive. That we are Engro, we are a very big company. How is it possible to have too many findings for us? So, but at the same time, the CEO was also sitting there. He told all the managers, guys, I know this is ABC certification body, and I am dealing this certification body since last 25 years. And I know their auditors are highly professional. Before these guys, their bosses, they used to come in our company and they used to give the findings, and they used to give too much findings like they are giving. So I'm happy that you are maintaining the same level of your competence and you are giving us too many findings, and we make sure that whatever your findings are, these are very genuine and relevant finding, and we will work on. So these kind of comments, these kind of cases are also possible in the closing meeting. When you think that, oh, it's a very big company and if I'm going to give them some findings, they are not be able to take these findings. Sometimes the client told you clearly that we are a giant, so we don't expect any findings. So whatever your findings are, give us off the record, we will implement, but don't write in our report. This report will go to our corporate, and it depends on our performance, our company performance, the individual manager performance are going to be staked due to your report. So they told you clearly. So these kind of cases are always possible. Then we have local issues and culture customs. Local issues, very important. For example, if you are dealing in some of the areas where they have some cultural norms, where they have some local norms, you have to follow these norms. For example, if you are doing the audits in Kingdom or in Pakistan, you are not allowed to handshake with the ladies, right? So this is the local issue, this is their culture norm. But at the same time, if you are doing the audit in Western countries, it is their norm that whenever you are going to enter in the room, when you are going to meet and greet them, you have to shake hands. So if you are going to shake hand here, maybe she will shake hand, or maybe she will make slap on your face. So you have to maintain your culture norms. Similarly, local issues, for example, sometimes have you seen some for example, Indian those people who are Sikh, they used to wear some bangle in their hands. So this is the local issue, and this is the some religious issues for them. So we cannot force them that you need to take out, since you are working in a food company. So you have to be no need for this thing. So it might be possible that they become very aggressive when you are going to touch these kind of sensitive things. So you have to explain them the importance, and if possible, put them in some other areas, no problem. I remember I used to go to the audits of oil and gas sectors where the people, they used to wear, you know, turban uh, on their head. So when the auditor comes, the departmental manager, supervisor, they used to ask them, please wear the helmets because it's audit time. So they don't remove their you know, turbans. They used to wear a helmet on their turbans. For example, they, if someone is wearing helmet on their shumar in Saudi, how it would be look like. So this is very important. We need to be focused on these things while we are doing the audits. We are not here for insulting anyone. We are not here. We are not here for insulting anyone, or we are not here to hit any of the local or cultural or the religious issues. Emotional blackmail, I already give you the example. Sometimes they ask you, if you are going to give them the finding, that please don't give this finding, my promotion is due in this year, and if we have these kind of finding, it might be possible that my promotion can affect. Sometimes they are going to say clearly that if I will get the findings, my job can be lost, so I have kids and these kind of things. So emotional blackmailing is also possible. Sometimes in the closing meeting, if you give them the major finding, they say that uh, our consignment is on hold, and our client has asked us that to send the audit report or to send the ISO certificate, then they will take our product. So please don't give us any finding, or don't give us the major finding. It can cause to stop our business. So these kind of emotional blackmailing are sometimes possible in the during the audit. So you as a chairman of the audit, you as a lead auditor, it is your responsibility to handle these kind of issues. Yes, guys, any question? Any question?
Oh, sir.
Okay, very good. This part of the training, most of the time I enjoyed a lot, because this is the most practical part for the you know, as an auditor, and I used to give too much example of my own experience, so my participant, they can have.
Sir, by the way, how long have you been working since in this field? As you are still young, mashallah.
Yeah, overall experience is now around mashallah 15 years.
15 years.
And I joined the certification body after, I think, 4 years. I joined the certification body, or less than 4 years. So I was working there for, as a full-time auditor, I worked there for 5 years, and then I left them. I came here. I'm here for last 5 years now. So here I'm mostly involved in training, consulting activities. Auditing is only the freelance. But since I was working in a multinational company for certification body, so I used to travel a lot from their platform for the auditing purpose, for the training purpose.
So can I ask one personal question, if you don't mind?
Ask other than my age.
May I know your age? Yes. Sir, you are a man. You are not a girl, sir. You can say
Still, yeah.
your age.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you are young. Oh my! I am 40 years, sir. I am 40.
Mashallah.
So you are younger than me, or you are older than me?
36. I'm going to have 36 in June. I'm now on my 34. I am 84. My date of birth 84.
Mashallah, sir.
So, okay. So now what we need to do before starting our new session, we need to do one activity that now you already have the audit plan available. We have much discussed what you are going to see. You have again discussed, you have again gone through the documents of wetland company. So is it possible for you to quickly improve your audit plan? Only I will show you one sample now, if you want to see the sample, and then you can improve your audit plan accordingly, right? And then we will continue further, because audit plan is also one of the important activity which we have to. Just a minute. Good. Now I find it. Yes, guys, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is one of the template, for example, for audit plan. The organization name, address, all this information you have already mentioned, right? The information which was not available perfectly, it was the scope. Scope, remember, scope is the activities which we are going to perform the audit or the company is going to get certified, and the geographical location. These are our scope. So none of you were able to have the scope. So what you are going to do now, you are now in a better position about the wetland information. So what the wetland company is going to do, you will already find this in scope information in their questionnaire, in their background questionnaire. So you will be writing the scope information, and if they have any exclusion, for example, design and development is excluded, so you can write in the same box of scope. And then if you will see that we need to start with the opening meeting, right? We need to start with the opening meeting, and who will be the key contact in opening meeting? Top management,
Top management.
departmental heads. And then after finishing the opening meeting, you are going to review the last audit findings and get some idea about the company. Most of the time this is with the QMR, right, or QMS manager or QMS engineer who has all the documents available with him. So you can do this activity with your team or by your own if you are a single member, or if you know already about the organization, then you can even skip this activity. But review of the last audit finding is for example, if you are in a stage 2, so you will be reviewing the audit finding of stage 1, how they have taken the corrective actions, how are the effectiveness of corrective actions are there. If you are in a surveillance, so you will be evaluating the stage 2 audit findings. Then you can distribute yourself. For example, production and planning operation, what are you going to see in this department? Before, in your audit plans, you have mentioned only the department names, right? But now what you are going to see, what you are going to do, that you will also be writing some clauses, what we will go and see there. For example, if you are going to see the production, in the production operations, what are you going to see? The
Process control,
identification and
identification,
traceability clause, preservation of product clause, in process and final inspection requirements, control of non-conforming product, calibration clause. So these are basically all the names of clauses which we are going to evaluate while we will be doing the audit of the production department. For example, when you are going to do the audit of sales department, what are you going to do? You will review the order receipt, customer related process, customer feedback, complaint, how they are going to make the customer communication. When you are going to do the audit for a store, what are you going to see? Stores, inventory, issuance record, identification and traceability, acceptance criteria, rejection criteria, quarantine area, right? On hold products. Similarly, maintenance, preventive maintenance, breakdown maintenance, calibration records, purchasing, supplier evaluation, monitoring and data, HR department, training records, competency record, communication record, and then internal audit, management review, corrective and preventive actions, analysis of data. So you have to show in your audit plan that you are following the PDCA, right? So if you can see here, P, right?
yes, sir. Planning,
And then these are all D,
okay.
do part, right? And then here, internal quality audit, check. And then corrective action, management review is our act, improvement part.
Action.
So you can do internal audit initially, no problem. But the sequence of PDCA as an auditor, as an ISO management system expert, your all documents, your all activities should reflect the PDCA. So you can do the internal audit initially, but again, C part cannot come before P. Okay, so client is always miskin. He doesn't know anything. That's why he is going for the certification. So if you are going to start with the internal quality audit or the management review, client will show you, no problem. But as your own professionalism, it is not a good practice, right? So we have to follow our PDCA. Now you will have, again, I'm going to give you 15 minutes so you can improve your audit plan, and then we will proceed further. 15 minutes, I will make the groups, automatic groups. So whoever you are in any of the group, you can improve your audit plan, right? Any question? If you want to increase the auditors, right? If you want to decrease the auditors, you can improve it now. But focus on wetland, right? Not the generic. Focus on wetland.
Sir, shouldn't we be the same group for the audit plan?
Wallahi, I don't know how many of you guys were in one of the group. So
I have, my group was me and Farouk, Abdulaziz, and Rahat.
Abdul Aziz, I will move to group number 2. Rahat is already there. Mazin, I will move Mazin to group number 3. Okay, any other? Remember Adil Hassan, you were in the group number 1 before, right? Do you remember who were the participants with you?
Sir, me, Masood, Abdul Wahab,
Abdul Wahab.
and Abdul Wahab is not here right now.
Dia Faraj, Arshad Mahmood,
Yeah,
Muhammad
yeah.
Rushdi.
Yes. You can add them.
Oh, I don't have a audit plan template. Somebody should have. I don't have.
Okay. What about group number 3? Bandar Abdullah. Do you remember who were the team members with you?
I remember Dia, I think,
Yeah, lucky man with you. Very good.
and Arshad.
Bandar Abdulaziz Azmatullah.
Arshad. Okay. Umair, do you remember in which group you were there? Mazin?
I was in group number 3, I think.
Group number 3. Okay, you are already. So Mazin, I will put you in group number 1 because they have already 3 participants. Yes, guys. Just open your audit plan and start.
Yeah.
Ali Al-Shehri was a part of. Only thing which needs to be improved overall is very good, and you have covered many of the activities. If you see at the end, for example, Mr. Abdul Aziz, Mr. Rahat is doing some activities for some department, but I don't find Mr. Muhammad if he is doing any activity for any of the department.
We mentioned here his name, but this is just.
But after 9 o'clock, what he will be doing? So you can.
He was added new. He was added new in our program.
No problem. So what you can do, for example, it might be possible that some of the activities 2 auditors can perform together. No problem.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Sometimes it happens that, okay, one department is big or they have 2-3 sections. For example, in production department, there are 2-3 production lines. So 2 auditors can do the audit of production department. No problem. It is not that there can always be one auditor will be doing the audit. So this is very good. The other group, one of the group were not be able to have this activity, and the other one still they need some time for the improvement, so they will share in the group. So once you close this file, please also share in the group. So it will
Mr.
be
Anas,
record. Yes, please.
I have a question here regarding the scope.
Yes.
They in their request here, they said that they want the scope and the finance. Okay, but I remember that you said that this is not our scope.
Yeah,
That's right.
If the company core business is not the finance, then we will not do the finance audit, right? For example, if the company is the financial institution, so their all activities are related to finance. In this case, we will do. But in the normal companies, service company, production company like this company, we will not include finance, right? Okay, very good. Now we will do our last activity, and this will be the true and false activity, the polls. Okay, this is an individual activity, and we will do this activity and we will take the feedback tomorrow. We will discuss the results tomorrow. Okay, you have 10 minutes time to perform this activity. Everyone must participate in this activity.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.